Hi everyone, my name's Catherine. I'm a professional dancer and ballet teacher, and I'm here to give you a little history on classical ballet. So ballet actually got its start in 16th century Italy, moved on to be a respected form of academia in 18th century Russia, and is now a globally admired and respected art form of self-expression and movement. So in 16th century Italy, the Renaissance had just begun and dance was very new. So it was only done by the courts of noblemen and women. And there was a patron of the arts named Catherine Medici who married King Henry II of France. And when she married him and moved to France, she took the beginnings of ballet with her. So ballet really took root in France while she was there, but didn't become popular until King Louis XIV began his reign in the 17th century. And he actually commissioned a lot of ballets on his own that were very elaborate, very extravagant, and had beautiful costuming, designs, but not really so much of the technical choreography that you would see today. And he would actually wear shoes that looked a lot like this, so definitely not something that you would see today. But after he developed that, he actually also laid the foundation for the Paris Opera Ballet, which is the oldest ballet company in the world. And once he started that, a lot of other countries began to follow suit, and they developed dance companies and schools of their own. And one of the biggest ones of those was in Russia with the Mariinsky Theater, and they started to develop their own form of ballet and their own method called Vaganova. And from there, a lot of other nations took part in that as well. So there's a Russian method, which is Vaganova, Italian, which is Cicchetti, Dutch, which is Bournonville, and the list goes on and on. As more people caught on to ballet technique and they realized that they could add their own flips and twirls to it, they began creating what they would call their own methods. So in that time as well, women started to become more popular in the field, whereas before, when it was just in the courts, it was hardly any women performed. It was mostly noblemen, and the select women that were in the crowd performing were noble women, so the noblemen's wives. But when it spread around in the 18th century, a lot more women got involved and began actually pioneering their own methods and forms of ballet. So after it spread all around Europe, it was on its way over to the United States, where George Balanchine actually created the first American method of ballet. So his method is very, very different from what you would see in Europe, whereas that it's not so much of the soft, elegant movement as it is sharp and elongated. And when he started choreographing and creating his method, that was sort of the beginning of neoclassical ballet and contemporary ballet. And a lot of those didn't focus so much anymore on storytelling in their ballets, but it was a lot of self-expression and movement-based choreography, so they weren't too worried about trying to carry a storyline. But actually, something that's interesting is that the 5 basic ballet positions that you would see today are the exact same 5 ballet positions that King Louis XIV was taught himself in France in the 17th century. So it's been very interesting to see how it has developed all the way from the Renaissance through the development of Europe, and is now still holding on to some of that classical period's movement and technique, and probably will always hold on to that. So yeah, thank you for listening.